in the scene.
I think it's gonna be the same. We're so close to each
It's fine though.
other. Check.
At least, bro, everybody's gonna hear us. Yeah, we're live on Twitch. But
Right now?
there's an echo. I don't know why there's an echo.
What's this Twitch deal?
Twitch is, dude, this is really cool. You can go on Twitch and watch Anthony Bourdain live.
You said what? Watch Anthony Bourdain live?
Sorry, I have to rephrase myself. For sure.
So, getting that for sure.
Yeah.
Be so dope if you guys could just talk back to us. And I could just hear all of you like a live chat.
I know, right?
You guys ever like get into it with like young kids on here? Is it like
So I
Halo back in the day?
Well, so I made a content, mature content.
I see.
It's like an OnlyFans page.
I see. So I gotta be mature.
You can be mature,
Got it.
bro. The stuff I heard on the GM from Grace on his podcast was like, I don't know if I'm that ballsy to speak that freely.
No, for sure. I mean, I can understand that.
So we got a howdy.
Howdy. How you doing? I gotta hop on here with you guys so I can see this. It just needs to update.
All right, guys, we're gonna get this podcast going. My name is Truffle Boy, and I got Chef Francis in the house. Chef Francis, give him a little wave, give him a little holla.
How you guys doing?
All right, great. So late night with chefs, back at it again, and then we got yours truly, Your Highnessty, in the flesh.
In the flesh.
In
the house.
Yeah. So as always, we constantly run into technical errors, but we overcome and we persevere, and this is what this channel is all about. So as we get things going, I want Chef Francis to introduce himself to us, give us a little background story, and basically give us a little short, nice summary of a background story, and then kind of get up to where were you at in your career, late February, and then once COVID hit, how did that, affect you? And that's where we'll.
That's fair.
That's a big question right there.
That's a big question.
But
for sure.
Let the viewers know.
There's a lot to unravel.
Yeah. Get your credibility,
For sure. Well, my name's Francis Pascal. I'm originally from Albania. Came to the United States back in 2004. Kind of went through school and the whole processes, but went on to move to Chicago around 2012 to kind of just pursue cooking. So basically, just started working at restaurants from there. Had the opportunity to help open a couple as a cook, and eventually got promoted at one of them. Took a little bit of time off to go travel and have some fun, and then came back, jumped back into the restaurant game. Was hoping to move to California to go work at a restaurant in Napa Valley, and then COVID happened. So that's kind of how the story went for me. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's been how many months? It's like 7, 8, 9 months. I can't even keep track anymore.
That was a real sweet summary you gave us there. Left out all the dirty deeds.
What deeds did you want to know, man?
I mean, one restaurant where you were working at.
What restaurant you wanted me to work at?
Yeah, one restaurant.
You want me to be uber
in
specific.
Napa Valley. I mean, there's TFL and there's the Meadow, so it's like.
Yeah, Meadow would. So sad to see it burn down, man. That was crazy.
I was extremely devastated.
Yeah, I will say, that was the restaurant I had chosen to work at after I had staged at a few. So, it is a really awesome memory to have of having been in it and just kind of seeing how the whole place operates. Super awesome, super cool. My heart goes out to them, man. I hope that whole situation gets figured out to the best of its capability. So.
For sure. No,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just insane the scale of that restaurant and it just completely being like ashes.
Yeah, it's giant. I mean, yeah, where it's at, it's like a whole manor. You know what I mean?
And like the entire farm and all of that, it's crazy. It's insane. And it wasn't like just one day. It lasted. Like it's not like you can put out something of that.
Of that magnitude, for sure. It. I mean, it's been happening in a lot of places in California, right? There's just been mad wildfires everywhere.
So we got Beer Not Babes asking Francis what initially brought you to stateside, and
Like to the United States?
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly.
My parents just felt that it was a better. This would be a better place for me to have more opportunity throughout my life. And I mean that was rightfully so. They definitely made the right decision. I think at the time there was a lot of issues that were going on in the country, and as far as having a real future there, it was going to be tough. So we decided to make the move here.
All right, well, there, that answers, I guess, your question. If you guys have any questions along the way, feel free. Please ask some questions. It just gets things more interested, and
keep it rolling.
We'll open up Francis a little bit more.
Tight lock.
So like late February, you were thinking, you were planning on moving to Napa Valley, or?
Yeah, that was the plan.
And did you already have like like housing figured out, or was it like early stages?
It was early stages. I had just put in my notice of a couple of months at the last places I was at, and just being like, hey, listen, in a couple of months, I'm gonna look to make the transition there. Thankfully, I guess I hadn't gotten to that part. I imagine it wouldn't have been all that difficult, but nonetheless, yeah, just ended up not going through.
Sorry, I'm texting people to get on this beautiful feed.
Guy?
Beautiful feed. Crack him open like an egg. No, Francis, I heard every single beautiful word you said. I really did. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Basically, so no, I understand that, but like, okay, so then COVID happened, right? And then your plan stopped. Like, how did you feel? Like, emotionally, and then like, did you take a break? Did you, run me down through those couple of first weeks?
Honestly, it was just very difficult, just because everything was happening on an hour-to-hour basis. As far as being like on a manager team, like you're just having very tough conversations about laying people off, and it's really difficult when you like put yourself in their shoes, because a lot of them are older, they have kids, they have families. It's not like just a young kid pursuing a culinary career kind of deal. So that was really, really tough. Like there was no real like security in anything that was happening, and it all seemed to happen in a flash in just like a matter of weeks. I remember faintly hearing the news about it a couple of weeks ahead, and I'm just like, you never think it's gonna like come to your home turf, right? That's just like so out of your mind that a world pandemic would just fall on your lap like that. But I remember hearing the news about it and just kind of not thinking much about it, and then next thing you know, it's just like, all right, like we have to change procedures like crazy. We're gonna have new hours, limited menus, the whole works. Obviously with the smaller staff and everything included. And I'm sure just like everyone else, man, like we just thought it was gonna it was gonna last a couple of weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And yeah, I mean, I was just like, we're gonna get this under wraps. And next thing you know, it just kind of all went super south really fast. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, super distraught moment, honestly.
No, I feel the same way. I started watching a show about like a virus outbreak on my first day on furlough.
Of course you did.
And I was like, holy shit, this could get really, really, really bad. And then it got really, really, really bad.
Yeah. And then that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Luckily, I mean, in the movie they over exaggerated it, but it's still crazy how.
It's like watching Bird Box. Did you ever see that one? I saw
I did
that
see
a little
that
bit briefly, and I've seen the memes about it. Just like, remember when you guys were talking about like, why would you go outside if this crazy thing was happening?
No.
It's like, now look at you.
100%. And that just, there's some truth and some thought, deeper thought, in all these movies. Being horror movies or not, like The Purge and stuff, and people see it and.
Well, definitely hope it doesn't turn into that for sure.
I really do hope so, but you've already given, a director gave somebody that thought that this can,
a possibility.
Yeah, like this can happen in reality. Like if you want to do it, you can do it, kind of thing.
That's crazy, yeah.
And I think it's with all these movies, and they kind of prepare us too, because, in the end, there's always a happy ending. So I'm really hoping for that. More or less.
I hope so too, man.
Happy ending.
I feel like The Simpsons have predicted a lot of crazy stuff like this too, so trying to stay tuned as to what's gonna happen next. You know.
Yo, beer or not, babes, you already know it was Contagion. It was the show dude, it was really serious though, because if you got the Contagion.
Okay.
It's like good 3 seasons, so it keeps you in long enough.
That's
I literally watched it that entire week, and I was just like, yeah, my boss said 2 weeks, like, you know?
Yeah, just psyching yourself out of it at this point.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, you know, and it's, nobody's like, because at first, I mean, it was like, when you know, February for me, or actually, yeah, early February for me, it was like when the first case came to Chicago, and it was, you know, we were all laughing back at the house. We were just making jokes, like, you know, we took what we heard on the news and spread a joke about it, because.
And the whole time, maybe somebody had COVID.
100%. It could have been spread. I mean.
Yeah, it could have been spreading.
But at that point, there was no measures that were really taken. So.
No.
How could you, you know, we weren't even thinking that. Now we might be thinking that, and if it ever happens in the future, I hope they're thinking about that.
Yeah, it's been a good lesson at the very least.
You know, from going from one case in early February in Chicago to 12,000 cases, you know, yesterday, that's huge.
That's a lot.
And your perspective changes on that completely. And like, you know, the seriousness you take on and the approach. Everything.
I just found out we're the only state that banned indoor dining.
You know,
I could be completely wrong, but yeah, like I feel like I saw that somewhere, and maybe it's wrong, but I heard that.
I think I agree with you, because it was, you know, the mayor's orders to do that, right? So
yeah. Again,
and everybody gets a choice. Like, I know Doug, our co-host, who's still in service right now. They're doing, you know, temp checks and taking your ID and whatnot, and then contact tracing if need be.
Where is this?
But they're open in Florida.
I see.
Like St. Petersburg, above there. He mentioned the town, but you know.
They're doing that with the guests, and they're doing that with the employees.
Everybody, yeah. I don't think. I mean, it would make sense to temp check everybody, but it's getting into that, like, personal boundaries, right? Like, where we're not used to it. But we're still, like, the people that want to go out, they at least have a chance to go out. And we're just recently.
Yeah, there. I mean, the weather's still good, you know what I mean? And it's going to be a thing in a lot of these places. Like, I think Arizona was, like, a really big hotspot for a while. Like, I think, like, still is. But
well, I saw a lot of people from Chicago go there and party and rent, you know, like, the pool houses.
Hey, I want to do that, too. You know what I mean?
Everybody wants to. I mean, because you're so tight, but then.
Yeah.
At what measures, right? I mean.
Yeah. Thankfully, I think we will figure this out. It'll just, you know, it'll have been in vain of the people that actually died, but.
Yeah. So, you know, kind of ending on that and starting with a new chapter of this podcast, or with this segment that we're getting going. You know, so COVID happened. You know, it was tough as shit on everybody, the entire industry, pretty much. Completely, you know, some people that took the 2 weeks off and then realized this is going to be you know, a long-term play, and some people didn't. Some people reacted. So, like, what was your first intuition, and what did you get started with that?
Get started with what? Like,
so okay, basically tell me, you got furloughed or kind of let go, or you just
I was furloughed at first, so I felt fortunate to have a job still. But then, you know, just like kind of stayed low, you know, stayed inside, just was not really doing much. Thought that likely I was still gonna go work out west at Meadowood. That was the initial thought still, but then even that got canceled because they're just like, hey, we had to furlough everyone as well. It had just reached out there too, so. Yeah, and then eventually I was called in to go back, but I denied it just because of, like, everything that was happening as far as the cases were still going up, and that pretty much meant that I had resigned at that point. So I pretty much just took it upon myself to just start the next thing that I could do. So. And
how did you? You know, I want all the dirty details on that. I mean, it takes a lot of balls to go from, okay, I'm furloughed. You know, the plans that I had got canceled.
Yeah.
What am I doing now? I mean, talk me through that process. What inspired you? What what tools did you look upon and grasp that enabled you to move on, right? I think a lot
Yeah.
of people right now, especially with the second wave, would be more than happy to hear that, and I want to hear that because I'm inspired by that type of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is like knowing things that you're good at and things that you can actually make happen. Obviously, having worked in restaurants for a number of years, like you have some experience as far as that stuff is concerned. Especially like on a managerial level where you kind of get to do a little bit more like numbers and orders and inventory and that kind of stuff.
Talking to reps, produce,
Yeah,
getting
just
in.
kind of right, just kind of being able to like make the schedule work for you, so that everything comes on time. You can get everything marinated, set up, etc. 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 But on top of that, is also just like making sure that your food cost is tight and stuff like that. So I think right away I knew that like even what I'm doing now, like I knew that I could do it or it'd be possible. But the entire time, like I said earlier, like we just kept thinking it was gonna be for a couple of weeks, right? And I'm just like, well, I'm gonna do this. Like it'll be fun. I get to cook for my friends. That's likely who's gonna hit me up right away anyway, right? If I start cooking, and maybe I can just like drop things off to them, and that's kind of how it goes. And like this will keep me busy until I'm ready to go back into the restaurants. But as time went forward, it was more and more apparent that that was not going to be the case. So it was really just about stepping it into another gear and just being like, okay, I need to completely pivot, and kind of either wait this thing out or decide to go fully in and just open my own business and start running it from that perspective. But I think for a lot of people that may be stuck in that position, because I know that it just happened again, right? There's like a ton of people that went back to work and then they just got laid off again and again. I think it's worth it. Maybe just hang out for a week or two and try to figure out what your next best step is going to be. And obviously, not everyone has the same means, right? So if you can manage to live and have your rent paid and stuff like that, like you can either try to find a job helping somebody, doing 2 to 3 different things if you have to, man. But I think at all costs, like you have to keep yourself somewhat busy, otherwise you might just go crazy if you hang out in the house for way too long.
For sure.
Yeah.
With those early days, I mean, and I'll get back on the subject that you just, where you finished off. But on a side note, were there certain, meals that you cooked on your first day, like being at home? Or did you, order takeout? How was that like? Were you still inspired? Were you still,
Yeah.
the hunger in there? What were you cooking too?
I mean, I love cooking. I think this is just the most fun thing ever. I think ideally, like we used to say, like hospitality is our real passion, right? Like where I'm from, like it's just like a big thing. Somebody comes over your house, you take out everything for them, you make sure that they're fed, they drink. You know what I mean?
On that, now you're getting me. Now you're getting like. Now I want to know what's an Albanian spread like. Is it like like the Russian banquet style where you got
we eat
all your
stuff.
cold salads, pickles?
Yeah, we eat a lot of stuff like that. A lot of like pickles. I mean, we do a ton of dairy.
But like fermented dairy or fresh dairy?
No, I mean just a lot of like milk, yogurts, sheep cheeses, goat cheeses, a lot of stuff like that. A lot of grilled meats. I mean, just a little like bit of information about it. Although it's like a European country in the Balkan Peninsula, like it just has had a very large influence from the Ottoman Empire or the Turks over like a course of 500 years. So the cultures have really integrated, and you can find a lot of them being similar in some ways. Although obviously they differ within regions, but. Stuff like spanakopita, which is like everybody can recognize, like spinach pies and stuff like that. We call it some, burek is what we call it, but like they have bureka or whatever. Like Serbians call it something different, Bulgarians call it something different.
I think the Bulgarians call it too
burek,
burek,
right?
and then in the Middle East or Israel, specifically, we call it burekas.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean, it's all the same thing.
For us,
right?
it's like just it's a broad term, right? Because
it can be.
It's been redone and re-envisioned so many times in different regions, right? So you guys went heavy on spinach and feta cheese, or was it like goat cheese or something else?
It honestly, like the way that they cook, like a lot of it is like very poor people food. You know what I mean? So it's like whatever you have,
Like peasant food.
yeah, and it's, I mean, it's delicious by all means. It's super old and tradition, and like, you know, goes back a long time, but yeah, a lot of it is just like with whatever you have, which is really cool because like hyper seasonality is a thing. Like if you can't get things, you just can't get things, right? Like
No,
like
100%.
sometimes of the years, like sometime of the year would be like I'd be with my grandfather just like foraging in mountains and just get like nettles and stuff like that, and we'd make it with nettles, right? Or like find like wild onions or mushrooms, and just make pies, like just, you
But
know
the
what I mean?
flavor's there, right? So like it even tastes
It's
even
huge.
better. Even though, would you agree with this side note, like a thought that peasant food and, you know, I guess rich people food, can we say it that? Is there a nicer way to say it? Like royalty food?
I don't know.
If we're
Yeah.
talking about peasants and royalty, right? Peasant food tastes great, but it takes a lot of time to kind of nurture it, build flavors and stuff like that, versus, you know, throwing a fillet and making mashed potatoes, which is much less time consuming. They're
Yeah,
both
I mean,
going to
that's-
taste great, but
It really, I mean, it really depends. Like stuff like that is, you know, I don't know that I would call either one either or at this point, because so much of it has like translated into being an all of cooking. You know what I'm saying? Like you take stuff that is like peasant food, and then all of a sudden people like make it fancy, and then it's like,
well, like the
Just-
fried
just-
chicken rage in
sure.
Chicago.
I mean, just do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean? Like I think it, like that's, yeah. I don't know. For me, like it's really not that big of a deal. I do think that it's very old in tradition and has this like intensity of flavor that comes from that development. But I mean, even if you look at like bases of like French or like Spanish cooking, like a lot of it like came from the people, but then was, you know, eventually introduced to like the kings and stuff like that, and like they would bring them along and have them be as like basically their chefs. But a lot of this stuff, you know, a lot of the stuff that we made, like you know, like in Albania and stuff like that, is like one pot wonders, like just things that you can put in like one big clay pot and bake, right? Like something that the whole family can share, because that's like a very important part of our culture, is just like sitting down and sharing food. Like not something that's really here in a lot of ways. Like I didn't experience it in the same way that we did there. Like the city shuts down at like 3 o'clock and everybody goes and home from work or wherever they're at and have dinner with their families. Like it's just a thing.
But
right?
that's
like,
that unique culture that's just been, you know, bred out there.
it's a sense of community, right? And when it's not a really really big country like that, especially like in elden days, like if you would imagine a village of people, and it's just like, okay, like this person has chickens, right, and this person has cows, and whatever, like somebody grows something different, like you pretty much all share within that community. Like there's this idea of like going to your neighbor and grabbing a cup of sugar is like a real thing there.
But is it a barter system, or is it just
Not
like,
really, man.
just like
Not really. I think there's
all love? Here you go.
I think a lot of it is like all love. Like that's the way that I experienced it. I think in the United States there's like this weird, and I'm not saying maybe everywhere, but there's like this weird thing where it's just like when you meet people, like they have to like prove themselves in a lot of ways, right? Like they have to like somehow provide value and yada yada. But for us, it's like a thing called besa, which really like translates into like faith, but it really is like this ideology of like when you meet somebody, they start at 100%. They have to do things to deduct things from themselves. They have to do like bad things basically to like deduct points from themselves. But the way that you greet somebody right away is with open arms and love, right? And that includes sharing your food. Like that's why hospitality is such a big thing amongst that culture.
No, for sure. And then I'm more, I would say, Eastern European, Middle Eastern, but it's all about that. I would say both of those foods, you know, and just kind of that area has been, you know, they had so many wars and they've been involved
There's
in
been
so
a
much
ton
of
of
that, so
commotion,
that
yeah.
like, you know, versus like France where everything was flourishing for a long time. I think like Russian, Albanian food and that are just now.
I mean, you also have to
getting
look
certain
at like,
points.
yeah, you got to look at topography too, right? Like where are they located, right? Especially in the olden days before refrigeration, like that's why a lot of that stuff was like fermented, right, or dried,
Right.
or smoked, or whatever,
Preserved
right,
and whatnot.
preserved in some
in
sort
all
of
different
manner.
ways.
And nowadays, like we don't think about it at all, and almost look at it like it's a delicacy thing, right? And it is. It's not that it's not, but it was born out of frustration and desperation in a lot of ways. It was not this like culinary like achievement in that sense. Like I don't think anybody was just like, ooh, like look how dope this is. You know what I'm saying? There was somebody just figured out that, like if I put salt on this thing and like it draws this moisture out, then I can keep it for a lot longer. Right.
Right,
Okay,
and I mean, but like you were saying, that there's been a lot of influence in that country in particular, just by the people invading it and whatnot. So they bring their stuff, and kind of jumping off the point that you were saying, like the Spanish people took whatever the people were doing and brought it over as they traveled. That's how one of the mother sauces, Espagnol, which is a brown sauce with concassé, diced tomatoes.
Beef.
Came along, right? I mean,
right.
It's literally, and that's why it's called sauce espagnole.
Right, it was like one of the Spanish cooks, right?
Exactly.
Made it for a French chef.
And that'd be really cool to be in those days a cook.
I imagine it was a lot more difficult.
Thing.
Yeah, no joke, man.
It's like so I want to make a French onion soup. You got to go pick the onions. The onions got to be either stored in the bunkers underground.
Yeah, and I'm sure everything was not as easily like readily available. Although I don't know that for a fact,
but like I think they ate more by the season and appreciated it more when we can't go to the store and have the same 15
have pineapple, like
pineapple, dragon fruit,
year round, just
young
all
coconut.
these
Yeah,
fruits.
exactly. But that's the cool thing where and I think chefs are taking advantage of that now more than ever, and now with technology, I think it connects us to the producer in real time. I was over at my Truffle Plugs Giacomo's place, and he says for certain clients, when he's on vacation, he'll FaceTime the person that has the the truffles on live or on FaceTime, and he'll hand pick it for clients that he knows. Okay, this guy's gonna want this and this and this.
That's crazy, actually.
And that's just the reality of it, especially being a business owner, like kind of jumping forward. But you took a week off, right? You were like, yo, I'm gonna take some time to myself. And that week, I ordered food from, let's say, somebody else on every Wednesday that I order food from you, and we're very brand loyal to a certain point. I feel like as Americans, as a whole, right, we're very brand loyal. But then when like you miss 1 month and you try something else, we're very quick at building habits, whether they're good or not.
I agree, and I think for as much prosperity and like difference that there is here, I think people don't really like jump out of their comfort zones a lot as far as it comes to cooking. What do you think?
I think no. I think you find like 3 good different places and you just kind of put them in rotation, right? So
yeah. And I'm not saying like, I just mean like as far as like cuisines are concerned and stuff like that, right? Like people are just like skeptical to try certain things.
For sure, and I feel like because we had such a strong influence, especially in Chicago, to my sense, the Italian influence is crazy. So to introduce something at a fine dining level that doesn't have some Italian roots is very, very hard.
It's hard not to like Italian food. I think that's like no matter who you are, like
it's like really nice.
I'm sure
really
if you got
nice
a pasta
comfort
dish on the
food,
menu,
right?
I'm sure if you got a pasta dish on the menu, like I probably want it,
Exactly, and it's so easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but pasta dish is simplified, and you don't want to add, like a stew, right, or something like that, which requires. Well, I mean.
A lot of it requires
going too broad because a bolognese is smack.
Sure.
I really like the bolognese you made that one time.
That was good bolognese. I had to grind all my own beef for that.
So.
That was a lot.
But did you use because you were grinding your beef, you weren't using, the conventional stuff, so it had a different flavor?
No, I think it's not a difficult sauce to make. A lot of these things I don't think that any of them are really difficult. It's just certain points of transition when you have to do certain things within it 5 or 6 times, like just have to be on point, and it really is just time. You just got to stay over and baby it, and just make sure you mix it. But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, like I heard somebody say as far as Italian food is concerned, like something like, if you have like more than 3 or 4 ingredients, like you're doing too much. And I mean, I like that, and in a lot of ways, like I do want to know what I'm eating. That's like one big thing that I like about eating simple food and stuff like that. Like, just show me that you can make really nice pasta, right? And like one nice sauce, and like that's good.
Well,
Right.
I think when you simplify, you're giving yourself more time to focus in on, is that pasta
Right.
perfectly cooked?
Sure.
And there's nothing to hide behind, right? It's
Yeah.
very easy to throw.
I mean, it's just getting the highest quality ingredients that you can on that one. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully you have really nice egg yolks, right? Or like good flour.
Have you
and
seen
it's-
that article about Dan Barber's Impossible egg yolks?
What, the red ones?
Yeah, the red ones.
Yeah, he
He
feeds
feeds them spicy
he
food.
feeds them like red peppers, right?
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. Because they have no capsaicin receptor.
Right. So they just eat it.
But
and
then,
it turns
like, to
the
me,
yolks red.
there's going to be a brand like Tyson that's going to take that and formulate in there, and start making our egg yolks, our cage-free egg yolks, look slightly more deeper in color. And for us, it's,
And I wonder if that's happened already. Honestly, I don't know.
and
I don't know.
It definitely
that. I'm
could
just-
be, right? It could be like
I mean,
a gray
yeah.
yolk, and then
I
they're
definitely-
adding a little bit, and it's a
I
yellow
definitely
yolk.
get like organic cage free.
USDA.
Yeah, I mean they're just nice. They're nice eggs, like, and I like them. They're not like crazy, ridiculous, giant sizes. Like when I was a kid, I never remembered chicken eggs being that big.
No, and
Yeah, you know
they
what I
were
mean.
all misshaped and speckled and.
Right. That too. Yeah, I could see that happening. He's doing a lot of cool stuff though, man.
Very
Dan Barber
like
is
crazy
super
stuff,
cool.
like the composite cooking.
Yeah.
And that's like mind blowing, like beautiful vacuum sealed sous vide, or not even sous vide, just vacuum sealed bags. Throwing on top of the composite and letting them bacteria
Yeah,
heat it up.
Right,
and
it's like
cook it.
residual heat, pretty much.
Eh,
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. But getting back on topic, how was the first week of doing your own thing, being your own boss? Was it an easy transition? Was it a mind change? Was it?
There was a lot of things that I had thought and had not thought of, which is just fine. You learn as you go, and that's really like a big thing I want to push for people, is just start. Like, you don't have to be perfect. Not everything has to be figured out. Start. You'll make a mistake. You'll learn. You'll move past it. I think the first week was.
What did you do the first
I don't
week?
even
Also,
remember, to be honest with you. I really don't even remember. I'm sure and I don't even think that I have the documentation about it, because at the time I was just posting on my story, just seeing if anybody would bite. I had no idea if anybody would even order at all, which I think people were very supportive, like, right away. And I know that a part of it was just like, everybody's like lost their jobs, like, don't just like go out to restaurants, yada yada. Like, there's certain people like trying to do side hustles, like, support them. You've obviously been one for a long time, but yeah, I had no idea what was gonna happen. Like, everything was like so bonkers as far as like posting pictures that didn't really look that good, like, on my story, like, kind of, you know what I mean, and just like, and I wasn't even hitting people up at that time. Like, people were just hitting me up. Like, it started off slowly, maybe that first week, and then like the second week and third week, it started getting bigger and bigger. But I had not thought everything out for sure.
would you agree that chefs are so hard on themselves? I found that to be, when I'm in a family setting and like I was cooking steak on Instagram Live, and I totally thought I butchered it. Like, I put the cake tester in, and it was like warmer than I was
Sure.
comfortable with.
By the time it rested and stuff, yeah.
No, like, well, I
Just in
took it
general.
straight out of the pan, but
Yeah.
and it was warm, and I was like, fuck, this is like a medium well. But I sliced into that steak, and it was perfect medium.
So you can't top a steak, chef, is that what you're telling me?
Well, it's not that. It's
I'm just
also
joking.
when you cook 30-40 steaks every night,
Yeah.
you don't have that hesitation, right?
Right.
But when you overcook one, you're just like so judgmental against yourself, because first of all, the chef is gonna be like, what the fuck, and then
Well, I mean,
you hold yourself accountable
You should hold
to
yourself
certain
accountable.
standards, right?
yeah. That's a common thing within the chef industry, I think, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Honestly, like, I think I think cooking is one of like the last strongholds of like you really just have to be able to do like the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no really uh, hiding over like or behind anything. Um, I don't know, man. It's such a
But like,
weird.
do you ever like catch yourself being like, well, like to me as a consumer of your meals to go, um, every week, would you
Yeah,
say that you sense certain things that you're like, oh, if I would do this next time, I would do it this way and
for
this way.
sure. I do that all the time. And in all honesty, I think maybe people don't see it that way, like just by the way that I speak and stuff like that. But like every week, I'm freaking out about something. You know what I mean? Like you're being too ambitious with what you got to work with, and you want to do these things right, and like you're just used to working in fast-paced restaurants. Everything's happening super quickly. A bunch of different dishes from one ticket have to come up all at the same time. So like the window that you can wait for something is really small, right? Like the food has to be hot, beautiful, and delicious and go out to people. Whereas this is like you're making that food and then next thing you know, now you're like packing it up and now it has to like sit while you travel, and you're asking people how it is like after, and they're just like, oh man, everything was great, but the whole time you're just like shitting bricks. You're like, fuck, I hope it like didn't suck, right? And it's just like a
I
total
know
like
that
it's such a
feeling.
total, but it's a good thing. I care about my customer, you know what I mean? Like I want somebody, like it just goes back to the hospitality thing. Like I get truly happy from watching other people be happy from cooking and just like having a good genuine time, being built around that. So like to your question of just like, you know, is it that a lot of chefs are like harder on themselves? Like yeah, I think so. And like I think to a degree you have to be, right? Like you have to be your own biggest critic, but then also not make the mistake that I would make a lot of the times as like a young cook, was get upset when I mess something up and then it would just ruin the rest of my day, right? And I would just have like a bad service. But like it doesn't have to be that way, you know? Like you made a mistake, move on, especially for the sake of everyone else around you. Like don't kill everybody else's mood. Everybody else is at work, they're trying to make food. Like it'll taste better if you're cooking with a good attitude. Like it sounds corny, but I think it's really true.
No, I agree with that statement 100%. I think you said it very, very well. Very, very smooth. But with that being like, I think that because we are always in like this family environment, part of this brigade, part of this family, part of this system, when we notice these areas, we know that somebody, our mentors, right? I always find myself holding myself to like what my mentors, and catching myself on certain thoughts,
Yeah.
especially like let's say you were making pasta or ramen or whatnot. There had to be like that little voice where you read something in somebody's context and now you're interpreting it in your own
Yeah.
way and holding yourself to their standards, and would they like this,
And you
do you
should,
like this?
right? Like there's, you know, any place that I've ever gone to work at, I've hopefully liked the chef. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think you should work for somebody that you don't respect, that's not doing what you want to be doing in some time, right? Like, and hopefully they do have higher standards than you, and hopefully they do have a lot of things to teach you, right? I just think that you have to have your own set of like morals and values, right? Like if you're putting up something that you like know is wrong, something like that, for example, like, and you do it anyway because like you're in the shits, like it's it's not just so much about like the chef, but it's also like your own sense of integrity as well. Like it's not like we haven't all done some shit like that at some point in our life and you're just like not quite satisfied with it, but um there should, but your thoughts should not be like, oh fuck, chef's gonna be really mad. It's like, fuck, like this is less than perfect and it's gonna go out to a guest, right? Like they're a guest, they're in our home, they're here for an experience. Like especially a lot of the places that we work at, like people can't come there all the time, right? They're there for some sort of celebration, like a birthday, an anniversary, a graduation, whatever. Like I want to create memorable moments for people around a dinner table. Like I want people to come in and maybe be having their celebration and it's not even about the food, right? But then like they take a bite of it and they're like, oh shit, like this is really really good, right? But I want it to seem super flawless, and not be this thing where it's like you're only here for a culinary experience, right? Like I just want to make a memory for somebody. So when it comes down to making the food that way, that should be the thought that you should be having in your head, is like, how am I going to enhance this person's experience? But on top of that, like, yeah, you should work for somebody that also has really high standards, and all the people that are around you should have high standards of themselves. And I think it's cool to expect it out of your coworkers too, man. Like, I think there's a lot riding on the line, right? And it's really only going to make you better. Like, there's a way to communicate it, so that it's the kind of environment where like everybody feels like they're learning, and I think that's a good place to start.
No, and I actually want to thank you because you don't only like preach it, but you breathe and live it, and I love
Thanks,
that.
man. That's
You know,
really
you
sweet.
were my sous chef at Royster, and you came in and you were making family meal when you had the chance, and you always reached and did something out of the box, and you let the commis, where I was the commis at that time. Not only were we getting the prep list done, and you were getting us you were getting the PM shift ready for service, but you were also on the side note being like, all right, we're gonna make this curry. Have what you know about that curry? This and this and this, and
Yeah.
giving me pointers.
Try to keep you guys engaged, man, for sure.
Definitely on the engagement part, and then still like, you did it so like so smoothly where you kept that like pressure, but in the most positive way, and that's
Yeah.
a very 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 hard thing to do. And,
Thanks, man. I had good mentors. Honestly, that's it. Obviously, like I've put in work myself, but I've had good role models, over the years. People that I've worked with that I look up to, and they're just gave me a lot of pointers, and I got to watch them work, and kind of wanted it to have some of the tools in my back pocket that they did. So I think observation is a really really good part of it, but then also understanding like all these kids that are here, all these people that are here, like they want to be here, and they want to learn, man, and they're a part of it, right? Like as good as a brigade can be in a lot of ways.
I have to interrupt you there,
That's
but
okay.
I love how you call kids, right?
Yeah.
I used to really hate it when certain chefs would be like, oh, the kids.
Yeah. Well, because I started as a kid, so I always think of like myself as being like
For sure.
this
And
totally inexperienced person that like had no idea what they were doing.
no,
Like I was a kid. So.
sometimes it throws me off, like, you're 23, 24 and you think you're an adult, but then somebody has maybe more experience.
Yeah. Or just been in the game
and
for a minute.
I think the people that will go ahead and call you a kid, they had an even like, you're getting called a kid, they might have had pans thrown at them.
Yeah.
So like
that's not so bad. Yeah.
right? I mean, would you agree with that kind of like?
I mean, yes and no. I definitely don't condone it.
It's
for
degrading to a certain point, but it's also like.
Yeah, I think you can still get what you want and not be degrading. That's just like
for sure.
I mean, that's
but
just the way that I
would you
look at it.
agree that like, a lot of cooks that go into these fine dining restaurants, and if they give it like, if they let certain things, whether it being right or wrong, let certain things go and not hold them back, they wouldn't have to drop out or move jobs at like 92% there, and they could take it all the way and then feel that sense of accomplishment. Maybe it could have been just to me, but that's definitely how I felt. I ate a lot of shit, and then I was able to feel a sense of accomplishment once I got to.
Let me ask you this: do you feel that it was necessary for you having to take that? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel that you would have gotten to the same place, regardless of it had been like a negative or a positive environment? I guess. If that question makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like whether I would have dropped out and moved or quit and moved to a different restaurant, would I have achieved the same self of accomplishment? Most likely, it's again, it's on the type of person. Are you driven enough to, whether you're Dave Chappelle or Vlad Bryanstev, you're eating shit. You're just eating different scented shit, and you gotta work through that, right?
I think there's any time you're going at a higher level in life, there's just like certain things you don't know, right? So you're not going to feel comfortable with them right away. And I mean, it's definitely a part of it. Like, having to go through some shit is definitely a part of it, but it's a lot of it is happening in the mind. You're like, a lot of people are multiplying it like by 10, right? Like, they're taking a small situation, like I said, like that's what I would do. Like, I would have one thing go wrong in service, and like the rest of it would go wrong because you're just amplifying it so much. But
So I'll never forget. Chef Francis was giving me a compliment during my stage. Let me try.
did I really?
Yeah. Well, not a
I'm just
compliment,
joking,
but
I'm
like,
joking. I'm
but
sure
you were
I did.
like, you're like, hey buddy, you like, like
I
you
don't
know,
even
like
wanna
chill,
hear this.
like chill your nerves. Like you good. Like if you really want
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
you'll get the job. Like here, try this. Dark and stormy. Try this.
The
Try
Dark and Stormy
this.
was
Try
good,
this.
Yeah,
And I was like,
because,
wow,
dude,
so amazing. Everything was like,
Yeah.
I was like, and then
you gotta make people feel comfortable, man.
I
These
get
people are here and
overexcited.
work. Yeah.
And then I go and slam by the dessert station. He's like plating up this dessert station. I literally make the smallest slam. He's like, yeah, never do that again, dude. And I was like, whoa.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Did I say it that way? Was I nice about it?
It was, I guess when it's somebody else in your kitchen, you have to over exaggerate too because it's not one of yours, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm sure it was like something like slamming a door, right? Or,
Yeah, it was exactly that,
Um,
and
it's-
and I'm staging, right?
that whole thing.
And
I mean,
it's
it's
not
just-
like that was the first time somebody told me, "Hey, don't slam doors." I mean, we've seen it on chef's table,
Nah, I mean, listen, that's not even like, I think a part of that comes from like people working in like silent kitchens or whatever weird situation you're in, but the only thing I would tell people all the time, be like, dude, every time you do that, it just like helps the gaskets break a little bit and then the air comes out, right? And then the air comes out, the unit breaks, like the food goes bad, we're losing money. Like, explaining to people why we do certain things is definitely better than just being like, yeah, like don't do that. So I feel like I probably was a little bit nicer about it at that point. But you never know, man.
No,
what I mean? Like,
and
maybe
just
your
going off
recollection
that
is-
sense, when I did my any stage actually in these fine dining restaurants, the way they upkeep their kitchen is completely different than your mom and pop shop or and not all, right, but
Yeah.
there's a level of like not like you respecting your gaskets, like
Right.
you're mentioning gaskets, and it's like
Yeah.
it's not expensive, but again, if you're gonna have to do it every month,
It's just one of those things, like, the margins are already low enough.
right, 35%
You know what I mean?
margins,
Like,
right? That's our industry.
It's just one of those things, like, okay, like, let's say we work for the Alinea Group, which, like, obviously they've done very well and stuff like that. Like, if your Grand Atkinson have 4 restaurants, like, whatever, like, they obviously do very well. But, like, if you break, like, the top to, like, a Vitamix or something like that, like, okay, fine, like, maybe at this point they can afford to replace it easier than if it's just you starting your own business and, like, you have one other cook that's also, like, your dishwasher that's helping you wash dishes. Like, every little penny is gonna matter in that situation. So it's just like, learn now, like, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent, right? So, like, you're not just gonna show up one day and everything is just gonna work out, right? Like, you have to practice it along the way. So, like, treat your stuff nicely, right? Like, I just feel like that's like a no-brainer, right? But at the same time, like, there's just so much going on, and, like, when I say stuff like kids, like, these, like, young people that come in, like, that just don't know any better, it's okay. Like, you just have to teach them,
Right, you're not gonna get fired over slamming a cooler door if it's one or
yeah, I definitely
two
wouldn't.
times.
Nah, that's
But
it just
like
shouldn't happen
what you're
here,
saying
what I
is
mean?
exactly like I was just listening to this Patrick Ben David audiobook. Your next 12 moves.
Patrick Van David.
Patrick Ben David.
Van David, got it.
Ben
I said
David.
Van, like Vaughn. That's cool.
And it's all about running a tight ship and like respecting everything and educating people. Like, there's a reason you're doing certain things, and there's an upkeep. That gasket is gonna break no matter what after a certain amount of time. But when you're just starting off, you gotta act and do everything exactly where you want to be.
Sure, yeah.
Like if
There's definitely a part to listening that
I
helps
want to
with
be world famous truffle boy, just shaving truffles over everything.
That's really just what you got to start doing.
And literally that's literally what I gotta start doing. It's not even over exaggerating or fake it till you make it. Like I don't really like those terms, even though to make it more understandable to people, I've sent it to multiple of my coworkers. I fake it till I make it, and it's not that. It's like I try to act like where I want to be, and then I just become comfortable with that, and that's my standard now.
Well, you have to have that idea, right? You have to have like an idea of where you're going.
Right, and sometimes it transforms in the process, right? Like just like now, right? You were going to live in Napa Valley, beautiful breeze, sunny days,
close to mountains,
close to mountains,
beach, somewhat.
Just being able to taste your terroir, in like it tastes good. I don't even know what to say. Like you plant a tomato and it's like bomb. You put a little bit of sea salt that you got, from the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
No, I mean.
No, I know what you're saying.
And I've had some, Gary Vee. He's a big wine guy. I like big wine guy. Big wine guy, and he said, when he couldn't drink alcohol, he would go and when he would listen to wine guys, and they would be like peaches and cherries and wood and oak, and he would literally go and eat a cherry, eat a wood, eat oak, eat sand, eat dirt. That's a big descriptor as wine. Taste like dirt or taste like a certain terroir. So that's a big thing. You're always training. You always have somewhere to learn and somewhere to train and somewhere to perfect.
Yeah, especially nowadays, man. I mean, information is just so readily available, right?
Crazy.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, so getting back to and now we can kind of, talk a little bit more fast about, I don't want to say fast, but just go at it. But, week one.
All the questions you want.
Week one, you go into the store. Was there like a bit of hesitation? Like, is this the right move? Should I be doing this? Should I be
for sure?
Be doing that? And then, do you enjoy the process itself of like right now you're building your own business? Are you enjoying the process? I
do enjoy the process. I enjoy not necessarily having a boss in a way. That part is cool.
It's hard for most people.
Yeah, I mean, which is okay. But it's like, imagine like being the chef of a restaurant is just like you can't touch every plate yourself. Like you want things to go as much as how you want them as possible, right? But like you can't do that. So you learn you have to give a little bit of that up, right? And it's not a bad thing, right? Like you just don't have to be so controlling over everything. But one of the positives of this is like I never have that feeling. Like I'm just always doing everything myself. So but then is crazy.
When you catch yourself like, and I always caught myself on the thought when I was a line cook, your sous chefs lay a certain expectation from you, and when you underachieve, it's like kind of the world's dead for the next 35 seconds. You might pack your knives and go home, like Padma used to say. But at that point, like I was always a really, really cocky line cook until Chef Francis and
come on, man.
and Chef Tony beat me into a sense.
I don't think it was me. I think it was probably Tony.
I'll honestly say it was Dan Peretta. Honestly, he sat me down. I was late 3 times.
Nasty.
And I gave him a smirk, and he's like, you know what? With all seriousness, and like. I'm that type of person. When I get nervous, I'll smile it off, like I'll laugh it off, and then I might go home and cry about it.
I can attest to that. You
so like
at the wrong times.
I was like, fuck, dude, I could really lose my job right now. And I thought it was gonna slide by. Every other facility it was I could slide by under the radar, still be set up on the station and that, but like the way the standards that they had there. It's not just about that. It's like over that. It's like we're gonna train you as a person,
for sure,
how to think about certain things in a different way, and just that environment too, like will affect you.
It has to be that, and I never understood that when I was a little bit younger. Like my first 2 restaurants that I worked at, I could go in earlier than I wanted to, and like I wasn't allowed to like be on my station. necessarily, but I can go in earlier and like learn how to, you know, do butchery or whatever, prep items. And then roastery was like the first place like we all had to be in at like the exact same time, so everybody would show up whatever 30 minutes earlier, like have coffee or cigarettes or whatever outside, and then you would all walk in at the same time and all get dressed together, all go up and start setting up together, like, and you know, you knew every day that like you had a period of, you know, from like 2 to like 5 or whatever when like service was, to get ready, so that like, you know, in any other situation you could have maybe spent that time not being as efficient because you had extra time. Like this was just like you had to be so precise, and it's a good thing for you to be calculated and have a plan of how to do things. So, and it just makes you a lot more self-efficient, right? So that's a big part of like why that culture is like that. And I think eventually I started to understand why, because I would ask to come in earlier and they'd be like, no. Which is good because labor laws are a thing, and people should get paid for work that they do. But even if you're like that hungry person and you want to like go stage and yada yada, like there, it goes beyond the food. It goes to just how organized you have to become in a lot of ways. And I think organization in a lot of ways is freedom. Like I think people think that if you have a scheduled life or like a super documented life in that way, that like it's boring, but it's like you can schedule in fun and you can schedule in all these little things. But having a mindset of I need to get this done tomorrow and it needs to happen in this way is a lot better than you just coming in and just being like, oh, I'm gonna figure it out. So
But like with that being said, you know, certain people will thrive in that environment, and certain people could still be amazing chefs and you know, could be the next Ferran Adrian, but just wouldn't thrive in that type of environment. It's all about how you learn, the type of environment you're in, and the amount of stress. It also it goes back to, you know, your upbringing. Like if you had a super easy, nobody's getting on your ass upbringing, there was no and I guarantee I can attest to you, and maybe I can attest to you, but for me at least, you know, my parents were always expecting me to, you know, bring A's and this and that, and there was always that. Even if I brought
very much the same thing. It's like a continuation of the next.
Exactly.
That's how it was for me as a kid. Like I think we, like I mentioned when we first started talking, like we came here for better opportunity, because the fact of the matter was like there is no opportunity, and obviously it's the same thing in the culinary field. Not that there's not opportunity, there's just so much competition, right? So
yeah, there's
there's a ton
low
of competition.
margins and low air. Like
there's so many new kids that are constantly coming out of culinary school, like whatever it may be. Like I think I understood from a certain age, like if you want to have a decent life doing the thing that you love to do, like you kind of also have to be very proficient at doing it, right? Like that's just a reality. So like it's the same thing with cooking. It's just like you do want to be the best, or at least like I did, right? Like and it's not a competition with anybody else. It's just like I just want to be better than I was yesterday. But it's like if I'm going to be mastering all these stations, I need to really be thinking about how I'm going to do that, right? Like have a plan, because then you'll just be a lot more efficient that way, because otherwise.
Have you found yourself, like when you have put thought into it and put your time, that you figured out a way to, you know, save 5-10 minutes off your setup time, and
100%.
And not only save time, but now you're able to, you know, focus in more on these shallot brunoise and
just whatever it is, like
whatever it might be. But you just by bringing and what I loved about that and the restaurant environment, just by taking a big Lexan and bringing all your meats all at once, setting it up, and you know, when you come into, you know, and at least, you know, I'm talking about Royster, but you come in and nothing's nothing's anywhere. It's like a, you know, minimalist, brand new kitchen looking like it's gonna be up for sale, and then within 30 minutes,
everything's like put together. Yeah.
Everything's up. Everybody's got banes, water, cutting boards, salt, pepper, whatever it may be,
it's
and
like
then you're just like filling in the variables, right? Components, different ingredients, and then there's always you know, a couple things that no matter how good you are, you're gonna miss, but it's also on your teammates to keep that positivity and like check. Everybody would check themselves. You some days you would not be in the mood for it, and
I mean, I think for me, there's got to be a level of accountability, like, and you should be able to do stuff like that. Like, I think it should be expected of you. Like, we're all adults here. Like, we're all professionals. I hope, you know what I mean. Like, or at least like I hope that that's what you're going for, is being somebody that's gonna be professional at what they're doing, and a part of that is that expectation of just like, hey, like, you, whatever it takes, whatever you need, if you need help, reach out, but like, we have to be ready in time, right?
100%, because people are coming to pay $95 for a chicken.
Well, something like
and,
that.
And
I don't think it was quite $90, but
75,
by the end of the meal,
I mean,
whatever it is,
whatever.
You're having a
either way, there's no room for error. When you're getting an A5 Wagyu and you told the waiter you wanted medium plus, and something got lost in communication, it ends up on you, and you don't. There's no time to be like, no. It's like, I got another steak cooking right now for you, chef.
Yeah, I mean, there's that whole notion is kind of like, when a review comes out, right, that's really positive, like, like, everybody is like elated and super happy that like we did this as a team, right?
100%. So
when you say like something is on you, it's like, yeah, like, it is on you because you fucked up this thing, but it really reflects on everybody else, right? And I know that sounds like a lot of pressure, but it's also something that should inspire you to keep going, because a lot of the times, like, dude, like, if you're behind, you have all these things to do, like, I'm sure people have had the thought of being like, let me cut this corner right now, but it's like, no, like, not only do the guests deserve better, but like, everyone else that is here is also trying to build something for themselves. They're putting in 100%. You see these people 60, 70, 80, however many hours a week, like, doing it for something than just yourself will give you like 10x the amount of energy, I think.
And I thought what's really cool about that kitchen in particular, the amount of accountability there is on you. As a co-me, the PM people would put a prep list, and I would go to
very well organized in that sense, for sure.
To the chef, and I'd be like, oh, look, they're probably gonna put that on the list. We should get sunchokes or what it might not be, but like, we had to not only think about ourselves and like,
you should be involved, right? And I think we did a good job of doing that, for sure.
And obviously there was rank, and there was all that, and there was dirty talk, and there was things, but that's not what we're here to do. Is we're here to spread the positive vibes and take all the.
It was always love.
I mean, I did. You're gonna end up rubbing heads. I mean, even you started there as line cook and whatnot. You telling me you did not rub a single dirty thing with anybody, and
no, I mean, I'm sure tensions were high at some point. Yeah, for sure.
Especially with our fucking lifestyle, where after
your
shift,
you all want to be number one, right?
You go into what was it, Aberdeen Tap, and then you go into somebody's house and somebody's house and somebody's house. You're on 6 days that week, and you're running on 4 hours. Even if somebody gave you a nice comment, you might take it the wrong way. But getting away from that, because I think me and Francis can go on for hours on that, and I would love to have him back on this podcast and talk about all the dirty talk.
There's no dirty talk.
Dirty talk and sexy time.
I'm a sweetheart, and there was definitely no sexy time.
I'm not saying for you in particular, but I know you've heard, and
I can't say I have.
You have some beautiful culinary horror stories. There's had to be
horror stories, dude. That place is literally like
no, not even in that place, just in general, your entire experience.
Looking back at it, it was all great.
It is, and that's how that's the thing with certain things. In the moment, they might seem impossible. They might seem like you're never gonna get out of there. You're never gonna see the end of the tunnel. But then when you look back at it, you're like, yeah, I could have probably done another 2-3 years in that type of environment. Once you lift
your head from the cutting board sometimes, man, you're just like, yeah, I've actually made it fairly far. Or like, I'm like accomplishing things that I set out to, right?
Yeah, so, and taking all that talent, you went and you worked, you made me jealous, and you still make me jealous, and by jealousy, I mean inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Like, I look at you like you're 5-6 years older than me, but you're my age.
Close enough. I'm like a year older,
A
maybe.
year older, and just the amount you've accomplished makes me feel
That's sweet of you, man.
lazy, but in
No.
a sense where it's a lazy in a good way, and I don't want anybody to misinterpret this. So I'm going to take a little bit of a moment to define it. But I understand that he has the same 24 hours and 7 days a week that I have, and he must be making certain life choices to get there versus me making certain life choices to get there. And obviously, everybody's going to have different backgrounds and everybody starts on a different level, no matter whether you're able to control it or not. But at a certain point, you have, as an adult, you have, the freedom to make your own choice. So whether, I stayed up watching Dave Chappelle reruns for 6 hours, and Francis decided to go to the gym, eat a healthy meal and go to sleep, wake up, and then, work on his business. That's all choices that he made up and followed through. And I think that's where it's like,
Yeah,
I look at the stuff you're doing, and it's inspiring me to cut down on the fluff, the unnecessary stuff.
Yeah.
Because I also
Every person's a little bit different, though. I think you have to understand that. Like, I think people talk about balance a lot, right? But balance isn't 50-50 for everybody, right? Like, I just really enjoy working, right? Like, I sold my TV. Like, I just don't do anything like that, right? Like, my day is very scheduled, and that's just how, like, I live and thrive and feel best, right?
No, 100%.
But I know a lot of people that are not that way, and it's like even like these talks, like places like Noma or whatever, where they have like 4-day work weeks, and like that's a thing that's been trying to be introduced into the United States too. Like, and I don't think just within the culinary field, but just like in general, being
Noma
like, yeah,
or Copenhagen in general.
I think I don't quote me on that. I don't know that it's
But you
all
just
of
like
Copenhagen, but I
right.
think I'm pretty sure Noma is like they only do 4-day work weeks. And that's a lot of restaurants within the world, and obviously a lot of them are super big names, and like it just takes a lot more for them to do what they do. But
would you agree some of those tasks, like especially with what Noma's doing, sometimes it takes you like the full 12 hours to achieve a sauce or
100%.
or
Like,
something like that. So it's not like you can trade a baton and be like, here you go, dude.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it is difficult nonetheless. But I just think that there's this like thing where, right, where I would just like work tirelessly and just like, be going to the restaurant and be there like 70, 80 hours a week as like a super young cook. Cause like that's just all I wanted to do. I had nothing else to do. You know what I mean? Like that's all I wanted to do. But like that's cool for me. But I think not everybody's like that, right? And I remember I would expect that out of a lot of people.
Expectations.
Like,
we can get into a whole other topic about that.
That's a weird place to be in. Like
the only expectations I feel like, and you grow into it too. Maybe not grow into it, but there's certain knowledge that you're exposed to and perspectives that now I think about my time and I appreciate my time more than certain things, and I hold myself accountable, and the only expectations I expect is what I do.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, once you dissect your life a little bit, you're just like, hey, like, what am I doing? What works and what doesn't, right? Like, some of it is exactly that. Like, it is fluff. It's like what you said, right? It's like your lizard brain activating and just being like, yo, I just want to be lazy as fuck today, right? Like, and those qualities you have to understand are like intrinsic about human beings. Like, we're naturally lazy. Like, your brain's not.
There's no self of accomplishment when you chose to go that route, right? Like, if I choose to binge watch something, and then by the end of it you're like,
but
that was so not worth it.
You know you're doing it the whole time.
And you should enjoy it too. But
yeah,
I'm not saying there's a time and a place for everything. It's all about what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said about the schedule thing earlier. It's just like, it doesn't have to be this thing where it's like your whole, like, you write down your schedule and it's just like all work stuff, right? Like, you can be like, hey, at 9 p.m. like I'm done and I'm watching TV for an hour. Like,
100%.
just figure it out what you want it to look like. You're a visual creature as a human being. You know what I mean? Like,
and then once you put it down on paper, you expect yourself to do that. And you said that about 3 or 4 months ago. We were having a conversation, amazing conversations as always. And I kind of, as I said previously, I look up to Francis, and I love his hustle and grind, and just
Overall love I give you.
Yeah, I taste the love, and I feel the love always, and it's always positive, right? But you said, and I was like, man, how do you manage all this stuff? How do you like this and that? And you were like, dude, just think about it like a prep list, right? When you would come in at 2, and you literally had 10 minutes to write a prep list, and then you just went at it, and you turned off that brain of like overthinking, and you turned on the brain where it's like, I know what I have to do. This is exactly the guidelines for my day, and this is what I'm gonna do. And I think you achieve a lot more, and you'll be surprised. Like,
I mean, you're the last person to work that station.
End your prep list faster.
You're the last person to work that station, right? Unless you're open 7 days, in which case you're coming back from your weekend, right? And now you're
right. And then if you are coming back for your weekend, you're gonna
there should be a prep list for you already. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
not even that. You want it to be so ready that the guy that comes in from his day off,
right, and hopefully stock you up a little bit,
yes,
right?
Stock you up.
But
my
whole point, I want to make sure that any of the viewers like see this or hear it. It will change your life. I swear to God. Like, just write a list about what you want to do the next day before you go to bed. Just think about what your day looks like. So when you wake up in the morning, it's not this like cloudy situation that you're in. Like, you have a mission to get to, right? Like, you're going at it right away. Like, it's just so essential. So if I can give you anything, I hope it's that, and I hope you take it.
Yeah, and me being attest to that words of advice, like I said 3 or 4 months ago, he said this to me. It's a hard habit to get into.
But once you do, you look forward to it. Because when you don't do it, you're just like, whoa, like I'm lost. Like, if I don't do it, I'm lost. I wake up feeling super hazy and weird, right? Because my body's on a schedule already. Like, it knows to wake up at that time, but not having something to like latch on right away. It's just weird. Like, I'm just like in a confused state. You know what I mean? Like, now I have to really revert and think and like just stop and think about what I have to do instead of just being like, yeah, like I'm just gonna go ahead and crush this day.
No, I love that. And then I just want to kind of give you 5 minutes. I want you to talk about your concept, your business that you're growing, and I think part of this podcast is to showcase people that decided to not let certain rules stop them from doing their passion and figuring out all these things, and like we said earlier, it's nothing's certain, and especially now, and giving just try, right? Just go for it. Take a lesson from that failure, and use it to step up, and you'd be surprised how many people will give you a second chance as long as you're transparent and give positive and this and that.
I think it's important to know that like anybody could do it. You know what I'm saying? I think that there might be people that might not have that self-confidence or might be insecure about some things, like, oh, what are people gonna say? Like, how is it gonna be perceived? Like, what does my family think? What do my friends think? Like, dude, if you want to do it, just do it, right? Well, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
For sure.
And even
but
you were saying
there's levels to it, right? Like,
with
I don't have that as much, right? Like, I figure people are gonna say something either way, but
but you feel that you've gave it your best, and I think that's the expectation you have of yourself.
Sure.
You're not expecting them, and even everybody has a different palate, so everybody's gonna perceive certain things. Some are gonna be, and that's kind of the Michelin mindset too, right? You'll have 12 courses, and there's gonna be 5 or 6 things that you like absolutely are like amazed about, or maybe just that one thing that that for the really next 30 years you're just gonna be like, wow, dude, I need to come back and have that particular exact dish. And everything else was really great, but it might have just not hit that crescendo.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that for sure there's like things I've eaten that I've definitely had that thought before, or really experiences that I've had. But yeah, there's some meals I've had that I'm like, whoa, it just blows your mind. I'm like, it looks so simple and just such big flavors. Like, I love to see it. Yeah.
So talk us about your mission statement, what you do, what's the rundown, how to contact you. Yeah, and I hope everybody that's in Chicago is listening in and got a little notepad.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, basically like once leaving the restaurant industry, took a little break and then just started doing um, weekly dinners. I take pre-orders on Mondays and Tuesdays and start cooking for people for Wednesday through Friday, and then just kind of take um, Friday and Saturday myself to kind of work on like I have another business also. And then so just kind of catch up on that, catch up on a little bit of family time, a little bit of me time. But basically, what I'm trying to do is the idea started out as like making comfort food, family meal kind of stuff. Like not anything too super complicated. And obviously, like there's certain limitations as at least within what I think I can actually serve people.
And approachability, I guess.
Approachability is, and that, yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I think I'm just trying to cook food that is comforting to people. Something that includes like a protein, a veg, a salad, a starch, just pretty much an all enhanced meal. I probably took this idea from Royster, or like just in general, like staff meals when we did them at places would always kind of have a theme. So I typically have a theme for the week.
I think take is a bad. It's inspired, and you just and
yeah.
you gave
I mean,
credit
and
where
even
credit's due.
yeah, and even then, like I don't think it's a bad thing. Like you go to work at restaurants so you can learn how to do stuff, right? Like it's not like nobody's gonna be like, oh man, like look, you're making staff meals. It's like, yeah, I'm just. That's
And I
right.
guarantee with most of the recipes that you came across throughout your times, you add your experience. And
Yeah, I
knowledge,
definitely
and you-
tweak stuff. Like I don't. Yeah, I definitely tweak stuff, right? Like
Right, and it,
I'm not like using recipes from like places that like I've worked at. Like there's like ideas or bases.
and the
right?
places
But
you worked at took a base somewhere too, right? It's all like passed down. It's all about that generational
I'm sure,
knowledge.
Yeah, I'm sure people like didn't. For sure, all the stuff that's like, everything's pretty much been done before. Like in a way or another, like, you can add your own spin to it and have your fun with it. But like, man, just let people cook food. Like I think that's a huge thing too. Also, for me, is like just inspiring people to just cook more. Like you don't even have to be a great cook. I'm telling you, like, because this isn't just about like the industry or this, that, and the other. Like, cooking should be a basic skill for people at home. You know what I'm saying? There's and like
Would you
I got
say that's gotten lost over the
super
past 40
lost.
years?
Super lost, man.
Since
like I
refrigeration
got people
and-
that are like, oh, like I could like burn water, like making jokes and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I get that, like, but it's just basic stuff. And at the end of the day, like, just knowing how to make basic food, like, just let people cook, right? Like I hear people say all the time, I'm just not a good cook, and I'm just like, you just haven't tried it. Like I don't think that there's like this intrinsic like thing where like you have certain skills that make you a good cook. Like you can learn how to cook. Like just there.
Well, I've did stumble upon some people that
Would you
are
disagree?
really bad cooks.
For sure. I was
And that's
one
given
of
to
them.
that's given to their taste buds though, and there's a certain level of refinement that goes into it with experience, but you definitely don't have to be anywhere near pro or have any knowledge to start.
No, at all.
To at least start, right? Even if you make mac and cheese,
it's really like here's the thing I will say about cooking. Like honestly, like it's not really that hard.
it's not. It's
Right,
time
like,
consuming.
It's for sure.
Planning,
like follow
timing.
directions. Like
Yes.
and nowadays like there's just, you know what I mean. Like there was like a time where like our chefs like 20, 30, whatever years ago, like all you had was like these magazines, or if like you really wanted to try like this new restaurant or stuff like that, like you'd literally have to go to the restaurant or overseas or stuff like that, right? Like
Plan a whole vacation around that.
like our generation, like it's just never been an easier thing. Like you just have everything at your disposal. Like I guarantee you, anything that you can think of right now, like if you just went on YouTube and be like how to make lasagna, like there's 100 videos, right? Like have a little
how
fun,
to make
like,
a dairy-free lasagna, how to make a
Whatever
meat-free
it is,
lasagna.
like,
That's all going to
just-
be up there.
obviously, and I don't mean in like the context of COVID and stuff like that. Like I'm not like encouraging people to have friggin' a million dinner parties, but like at some point, like learn to have that connection with people where like you just have people over and like you cook and you make a meal and you sit down and you eat. So I think that's a big thing that I preach too. Like just share meals with people. Like cook. Like not everything has to, like, you don't have to always like go out and eat. Like there should be more of an appreciation for the food and stuff like that, right? Like because we've definitely gotten super far away from, like growing up, like everything was
the
always
community,
growing
right?
around you, right? Like everything was always growing around you. Like you would learn even in school how to like plant seeds and like germinate uh, like seeds, and so you can start planting them and then harvesting and just like kind of learning about plants and stuff like that. So we've gotten super far away from that. Like we just find things in like markets and like have no idea where it came from. But
Yeah, and what's your Instagram handle name? Because this guy was foraging all summer long with all bunch of
my
cool
Instagram
stuff.
tag is your Highnessy, so it's your YOUR _Highnessy HIGHNESS, right? Not Highness T, no. I just said your Highness. That's hilarious. Yeah, Highnessy, STY. Yeah, you can definitely find me there. I think I talk on like my stories or to people about that all the time too, about like the importance of being familiar with like food that you're eating.
Yeah, I've always went foraging by myself, and I think it's a much more fun experience.
That's a tough one.
Well, not by myself. I would go with my wife, but she'd be walking the cat, and I'd be like, just like walking and looking at the ground for 30 minutes, like, ooh, babe, look at this. This is that. Ooh, babe, look at this. Look at that.
And it's tough, man, because a lot of it is like you don't know. Like we'd go like foraging for mushrooms at like a certain time of the year. It's like I don't even know the exact number, but something like 70 or 80% of mushrooms are like poisonous. Maybe not deadly, but poisonous. Like will hurt you and
make your stomach uncomfortable.
Make you ill. Yeah, so stuff like that, and also just like not leaving too big of a footprint, right? Like you can't just like harvest everything that you find.
No, for sure. And then I was even spectacled when he handed me a bag of mushrooms, and I was like, whoa, are these good?
Yeah.
But they're safe, but it's also...
Did you try them?
I did. They're pretty, woody, I would say, like woody. Tough.
Oh, okay.
Not like tough, but like...
they're very sturdy, like the pheasant backs, right?
Very, very, like...
Very meaty in texture.
Big chew, like... Yeah. Almost like eating undercooked brisket, or not like an undercooked brisket, but not like a braised brisket.
I know what you're saying.
It's not like a maitake or a lion's mane where it like shreds and it's super soft.
Yeah, I mean, how did you prepare them?
I just I sautéed them with onions and butter.
Yeah, I'll always put them in
taste great.
Yeah, I'll put them in a lot of stews and stuff like that.
That's where I think I probably misstep on that.
That's okay. I mean, it's still good. Probably good. Mushrooms are an awesome replacement for like stuff like steaks and whatnot.
For sure. I mean, even Shake Shack has a portobello burger.
I've seen that. Yeah, I don't think that I've ever had it.
I had it with the beef patty.
Just the Smoke Shack. The Smoke Shack is real good. So shout out to Shake Shack. You guys make a decent burger.
Yeah, but kind of like going back on it, I think Your Highnessy undersells his meals. He doesn't mention that a lot of the stuff's organic.
That's true.
That's true. He's doing everything. So. Literally everything from and he's talking about days off for himself. I know Saturdays or Sundays he'll be already planning and taking pictures and preparing for next week. So Saturdays maybe or Sundays more chill, but there's still work being done, and a lot of the work, especially with something like that, is done on the back end, right? It's organizing your delivery route, organizing your pickup.
For sure.
All
stuff I've never had to think about in that sense. It's been a lot of fun, but I mean that is very true. I do work with a lot of local people, and try to work with certain farmers or hit up old purveyors that I used to work with. But a lot of the stuff that I get, man, is super super fresh and really and it's organic. Obviously, it's more expensive, but it's worth the price.
It's worth the price. It's better. It preaches your statement farther.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever spent this much time at a grocery store. I think people all know me now.
Do you get 2 shopping carts?
No, I think
just
one shopping cart guy? One. I think that's crazy. Who gets 2 shopping carts?
I don't know, bro. I mean, I've seen it done at Sam's Club and Costco.
No, one is typically fine, but it's just crazy. I just will spend so much time there where. Literally, the people know me,
Well, and the thing is with that, I know how much, me being or just having experience, I know how much prep time takes, and when he'll do his salads or anything like that, he'll pick, he picked tarragon and picked parsley and picked.
A lot of that stuff is done fresh every day, which is I think something that people like kind of maybe don't understand about like the way that I do things. Like if it's something that I can, if it's something like a vinaigrette that I can make 2 days ahead, 3 days ahead, whatever, and like portion it, like then it's cool. But like otherwise, like everything is pretty much like done every day. Like even like the herbs when if I'm like, making salad, like they're all like shocked and spun that day. Like the lettuce is clean that day. Like
And
that's a part of it.
That's the difference.
Right?
Like just you going to that level. Like most consumers, I would say 90% of people won't recognize these little fine details that every time I'm just like, and I try to point him out because I think he gets a sense of like happiness from that too. That like, oh, somebody noticed
No,
that
for sure.
little detail.
I do like that because I really do go out of my way to just like make sure that it's as good as it can be. But I will say that a lot of that is also partially due to like spacing, right? Which is good. It forces me to like to make things every single day, which is good. It just means more trips to the grocery store. But it's a lot of fun, man. And I think I get a giant satisfaction from making somebody's day. Like people are just super happy a lot of the time. Like I don't really think that I've received anything bad as far as like a complaint or anything, but like I am always thinking every time that somebody's just gonna be like, oh, I didn't like this, but it's like everyone always just says good things, and I'm just like,
but
damn,
with
I'm
that,
so
do you
glad you had
think
a good
some
meal.
people are like like I know my last week I was like, yeah, everything was great, and you're like,
Yeah, I don't
I
like.
know I usually
I'm
expect
skeptical.
more from you.
I'm skeptical. You know what I'm saying? Like I definitely ask people. I definitely ask people like I make sure to hit them up separately and everything like after at some point and be like, I want that feedback. Like I want to know what you thought and like be honest, right?
No, 100%.
And I mean, there's been times where people have like told me that they didn't like something, but it was like, and it's a good learning experience because it's like maybe like you reached a little bit too far with like certain things. Like I love bitter greens, right? Like
you are
stuff like that.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
So I'll
like,
call you out on that.
No,
yes,
go for it.
You definitely do love your bitter greens.
I do like bitter greens.
And again, like and
yeah.
I try not to. It's sometimes hard to find words. I know that he, blanched them and treated them and held their integrity and respected that ingredient. Is just not my palate
For sure.
liking. That's the biggest difference,
Totally.
right? I know that he's
Because
still.
on the same token, like there's a lot of people that are like, dude, like those bitter greens are delicious. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'll get stuff like that, but that's also why like my feelings don't get hurt and stuff like that. Like I understand.
Well, and
that,
that's
like,
why
people
there's
have
like
different-
salt vinegar chips and fried chicken chips and this and that flavor because French curry. Everybody likes a little bit of different flavor, and he really reaches out. Like I've had Indian food, which I would never have before. All his Italian stuff, yeah, butter chicken.
I like butter chicken.
And he also, in a sense, the amount of time he puts in it, the directions. And this is a one-man operation, and I've talked to him before about expanding and this and that, and he's like, no, this is how I like it, and I enjoy this, and
for the time being, yeah, this is
for at least for the time being, but what I'm saying is you're getting so much pleasure out of it that it really shows in your food.
Thanks, man, I appreciate that.
And the food is packaged perfectly, and also just seeing that growth, right? Week 1 you just had a bag. Next week you put my name on it. Next week you had a sticker and a funny note.
Yeah.
So it's also nice to see you kind of growing in your environment and expanding your comfort zone. Because I guarantee that's exactly what's happening. Is you're getting more comfortable.
Sure.
The return customers, the return feedback, the new potential leads. Right. I guarantee there's maybe
Yeah, I mean, I think
a good amount of people that at least reach out and like.
Yeah.
Dabble like, hey, what's your prices? Hey, what do you deliver?
I think the best compliment you can give is like a referral, right? Have you heard that one before?
That is a really great compliment because if I refer
sure.
somebody, that's like me putting, my stamp.
Right, your faith
on
it for
right?
sure.
And it's gonna come back to me because he's gonna be like, yeah, you know what I got, or her or whatever. I'm not trying to be whatever.
You're so silly.
Just like. It comes back on me. So like even like when we referral different chefs for different things or different purveyors, you want to make sure you're giving a credible source
Yeah.
and somebody that you're like, you know what, no matter what it is that week, you're gonna fucking love it. And I try to do that as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And you make it fun experience too. Like
There's a lot of people that reach out that way, man. I think it's very heartwarming that, you know, somebody was just like, hey, like I had a really good meal with this person, like maybe hit them up. I think it's really, really cool. Like when people hit me out the blue, it's the smallest things, you know what I mean? Like meeting people to drop like food off, like you know, people that you haven't even seen in a long time, or stuff like that. Like somebody hitting you up and just be like, hey, like I heard these good things. I'm just like, this is literally why I do it. You know what I mean? Like,
and
it
a
feels
lot of
so
people
good,
who
like,
are skeptical at first and see like, you know, week 5, week 8.
yeah, it's
are like,
changed a
you
lot.
know what?
Little by little.
Yo, he's doing something right. I gotta try this.
It's crazy how many people are consistent too. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't think that it would be that way, but a lot of people just like find value in it, which I'm like really happy about.
That's a great thing. I'm getting a text from Doug.
Doug's just getting out of service, dude.
Doug,
He just like finished scrubbing.
having some steward issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to skip tonight. Send the followers my condolences.
Dude, he needs to start
Hashtag
scrubbing
shelf
fast.
life. Hopefully tomorrow everything will have their shit together.
This man. That's alright, Doug.
But you know, CDC, dude. So
Yeah, that
like, you know,
happens.
we were talking you know, 2 days ago and you know, he had to stay an hour later because somebody forgot to do something and something like that. And then
Right.
once you're there later, you found other problems, and that's how it always is.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, Chicago's a great city. Would you agree that you being in Napa or being in a less condensed population with less people that you know, would you think if you moved you know, February or March to Napa Valley that you would have went this route, or you would have seen it flourish
Oh,
as it
man.
has?
No way. I'm obviously like this works here so well in some ways, just because I have, you know, groups of friends and stuff like that that have been in the industry. And I mean, it's a small industry. I feel like although it's big, it's like everybody knows everybody in a lot of ways, right? So
Especially if you're like been in this and you
word of mouth gets around.
you're
for sure.
goal oriented, I feel like, right? Because
Yeah, like I wouldn't know the first place to start had I been in Napa already, right? I would have figured something out if it was like the middle of COVID, right? Like, thankfully I still have another business, but it definitely wouldn't have been, hey, let me start a catering business from my house in the middle of nowhere.
right. And I think you know, with and I'm a big follower of Jacob. I can't pronounce his last name. Hikopakal.
Can't say I know what that is. Maybe I do, but
what?
I'm not sure.
The 42 grams.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
and
sir.
he's made mistakes, and he owns up to them, and he's transparent about them, and
I'm
he's
not gonna
moved
forgive
on.
that one, man. Can't do it.
It's not about forgiving, but
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely not
I got
forgetting.
arrested. You know, I got arrested for selling pot. And you know, it's not like my mom can forgive me for that, or I can
Nowadays,
take
that's
that
like nothing.
trauma away, or you know, I can forget about how she cried when I was, you know, on the other side of the courtroom.
Where's this going, dude?
What I'm saying is certain things aren't forgivable ever.
Sure.
And are never going to be right, and you're never going to be able to right your wrongs.
Yeah.
But you can't. It's almost a worse state for that person. Even though some will, you know, say
Sure.
whatever really bad shit. It's almost a state of that person that he's constantly being shadowed by, you know, this one
Big thing.
one
that happened.
accident.
Right.
Whether it being you know, one time or multiple times, it's very hard to get out of that. So I give props where props is due. I think he owns up to that.
As far as trying to get better?
Yeah, and he's trying to
Sure.
get better. He's owning to his mistakes.
It's definitely a step. I mean, I don't think it's a freaking death sentence, right? Like, a death sentence might be worse to literally, like, give up and never try again. You just really... Yeah, I mean, as long as you, like, own up to it and it's, you know... maybe
Right, but isn't
start-
that almost a worse state to be in, of like
Never
not
trying.
accepting it? Like,
Yeah.
no,
What?
I am like whatever
No,
it may
no.
be.
I'm glad that there is acceptance
Right, and
from what I hear.
Um,
It's just one of those things that's like, really rough.
But either way,
it's
not
hard
getting
to-
on that
No,
part.
no,
I'm
no.
just trying to talk about like the early stages.
Yeah.
We've all seen 42 grams. It's an amazing documentary, and it has its values and points. And I think even with him looking back at it, he probably would have done some things differently.
But
just
as far
like
as like
everybody.
starting something,
But just as far as starting Sous Chefs Rising, he started at his home, with his wife, and
Yeah.
they grew it into a 2 Michelin star restaurant.
yeah, that's pretty. That part is pretty crazy
And,
for
and
sure.
that would have only happened in Chicago, and I think that's why Chicago has so much talent, and we're such a small industry here, right? Because if you work
It's
for
tightly packed.
Boca or Alinea or Lettuce or
Whatever,
Off
Hog
One
Salad
or whatever it may be,
One
there's one off
Yeah,
and one whatever.
Hog salt. That's right.
Hog Saw. These chefs have moved around, right? We're always staging, we're always meeting, we're always ambitious. You can't get a sous chef job here. You're gonna go work as a line cook here and work your way up there. Hopefully, they'll appreciate your time and whatnot, or giving the right circumstances, you're gonna move up there and you're gonna move there, and that's how we are all interconnected. We're gonna have a Kevin Stacks, who was the CDC at Purple Pig tomorrow.
Oh, Kevin.
You know him?
I know of him.
See, that's the
But
thing.
obviously
I've followed him for 3+ years. I loved all of the food he's cooking. I'm always trying to
Yeah.
give a like and a comment where and take that extra time. But he started selling his Gardenero, so I was like, "Yo, let me get some." And meanwhile, would you want to go on a podcast? And
Yeah,
he
connections
was
happen
all about
super
that.
easily like
But
that.
like he came and brought me Jardinero free of charge. Obviously, I'm that type of person that I not only do I know how much time and effort he put into that, so I gave him extra of whatever it costed. I looked it up online, and just try to show my support and love. And
Just made a connection really
within a
quickly.
minute, we were already on such a deep conversation. Like, there's so many conversations I have with people that are not from my industry that don't. They might be really cool people. It might be whatever it may be. I don't even know where I'm really taking this right now. But what I'm saying is that there's certain conversations you have that
It's a
you
connection
remember.
right away.
Yeah, it's an instant connection. And like they're talking about the topics you're interested about, and just like one after another, and you're jumping off ideas, and it's like just an amazing.
Cooking is definitely a big part of that. We all live such a similar lifestyle as far as that's concerned.
100%. And I have
A lot
his
of things to
Gardenero,
relate
right?
on.
Like an
How's the
entire
Jardinero?
quart. Fire.
Delicious.
You wanna try it?
We'll take a spoonful of it, dude.
All right, I'm gonna give you a spoonful.
I love Jardinero.
No, dude, it's like really good.
I believe you. I'm
Not
excited
like
to
just
have
like I've had store bought and I've had our Gardenero.
old Jard. Here. Jardinero is damn good. I got you, man. Okay.
This is the good stuff right here. You know what I mean?
That's
It's got
good bread.
everything.
Put that right on my pizza right now.
That's what I'm saying, and my bread's rising right now, so that's
Nice.
that's where I'm getting
Delicious.
to. It's getting late for fucking truffle pizza, but we're gonna do it for the viewers.
You making truffle pizza? I love it.
I'm gonna use that big tuber.
Nice, nice.
So like I went on Instagram Live yesterday, played a little WAP, danced with a couple of the viewers, and they were all like, I'm like, what do I do with a giant tuber? And they're like, make pizza. And I was like,
Cool.
yeah, pizza's so easy.
You
but
have
then
a stone?
I do have
Yeah,
this stone,
that's
yeah,
nice.
because I love making pita bread.
Yeah.
I love pita bread and bread essentially.
Bread in general.
And you actually, well, we have an amazing story about that.
What happened with the bread? What did I do now?
No, not the bread.
Oh,
about
that's
me
fucking
throwing.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Vlad threw like a very old starter away.
8-year-old.
Yeah,
It's
it was
been
like-
there
it was
from
like-
the start.
Yeah, I mean, we had it from the start, but they got it from somewhere. They got it from somewhere else too. Like it'd been like a long time. But yeah. So I mean, whenever we'd feed the starter, you would, obviously feed it new flour and water, and take some of the last starter from the night before. And I think Vlad just threw the whole thing out. Like I'm not sure how.
Definitely. And
I had to go to some friends over at the Girl and the Goats to get some new stuff at like 2 a.m. when I got out of work that night. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So imagine.
Oh, this
Imagine. So I know I kind of like ran down the base, and I'm never gonna let this go. Either somebody sabotaged me, which the percent of that is like
Chef, just take responsibility.
0.00001.
People make mistakes, man. It's okay.
But I think what actually happened is I just needed to make a big double batch, and then I like used most of it, and I maybe scanned in my head that I'm gonna scrape something and make more starter.
But didn't.
But then I put all my dirty dishes in a hotel pan and took it to the dish area and washed it out.
Man.
But in that sense, you could have also taken that fried bread, a piece of it, and it would have turned into a starter. But it would
not enough to make a batch the next day.
Not enough to make a batch the next day. But yeah, man. Chef Francis comes in. It's like one or two. My day's going great. Prep list knocked down. I'm chilling by my station, and right above my station, we'd keep the starter. And the PM would always feed it around 4 or 5 o'clock.
It'd be like towards the end of the night, so I could.
The end of the night.
We'd feed it a couple of times, so it'd be ready for you guys in the morning.
Yeah, so Chef Francis comes, checks with me, and like he's behind my back, and then he looks up, and he's like, "Yo, where the fuck the starter at?"
Starter.
And I'm just like, I look up, and you ever put something somewhere, and you're like 100% sure it's there, and then you look for it, and you're like.
It just wouldn't be anywhere else.
I swear,
lives
this is literally, I put it here. I remember I fed it, because after 3 weeks of doing the same prep list day in, day out, it just, you kind of on autopilot for most of the day, but you kind of have to be, because you got to keep moving, and you're pushing yourself to move through the prep list. And it was just one of those really shitty things that happened.
Yeah.
And Francis definitely gave me the sweetest shit you can get. I think if it was any other chef.
Well, I definitely didn't say anything about it for sure. I just went and got it, which is good.
Probably lost my job, and we wouldn't have this podcast right now.
It's not that.
I mean, it is that, but no.
It's not the end of the world.
And the thing is, he was asking the realest question. Is yo, where am I gonna get a starter? Anybody who has a starter?
Yeah, I knew I'd figure it out right away.
Who's got a starter?
It feels like losing a child, man. You take care of this living, breathing thing, and all of a sudden somebody just throws it in the trash. Come on, man, throwing babies in the trash.
Oh, I washed it down the drain, so I didn't just toss it.
That's all right. I mean, dude, I'll be honest with you. I've done plenty of dumb stuff like that in my life. My cooking career,
right? But sure. that's that focus. That's that the hardest thing to achieve is just that purity of focus, where you're double checking yourself no matter how confident you are, right? And just taking that extra second to do it.
And
right.
It's a lot easier when you're involved all the time. And that's the one thing that I will say. It's just it just becomes second nature, right?
No, 100%. But it takes time to get there, right?
Yeah, it takes time, but it also it's a decision. I think more than anything, that you're gonna be committed to a certain thing, right? If you want, you know what I mean. I always wanted to get promoted and always get the next thing. It's you kind of have to see what the person in that position is doing already, and you have to be doing that stuff before you even receive that promotion, right? Because realistically,
and you're jumping on our earlier point is you got to act where you want to end up and not where you are now.
But be observant. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing about taking notes and writing stuff down and stuff like that. All the people that I know that are the highest point of their career, they take notes. You know what I mean? Just success leaves clues in a lot of ways. These people are organized, even if it's a little bit. You know what I mean? So people are likely going to be looking at you and being okay, look at this person. They're excelling in the position they're in now. If I put them in this position, they're likely going to excel there as well. That's kind of the thought that it should be. Not this thing of just I just think that I deserve it or want it. It's you should pretty much be doing the thing that you want first before it comes to you in a lot of ways. And be patient. That's a lot easier said than done.
Let me preach it to you. I was very impatient. So we got Kenny Bobby telling me I'm a dummy, and Doug's tuning in from Florida saying, I can't believe you threw away an 8-year-old starter. And I honestly couldn't believe it myself. I honestly for the first 40 minutes, there was like that self denial of like, yo,
I can't believe I actually did it.
Guy sabotaged me or threw this out. There's no way I could have made this big a mistake.
I don't think anybody would have like sabotaged you. It wasn't the kind of restaurant.
I
don't think so.
You were a sous chef at that point, so you also there's if you're a good cook, there's ways to get around and do some weird shit that's inappropriate and hacky. Especially when you go in the cooler and.
What are you doing in the cooler, man?
Well, when you're the cooler is the ultimate shit talker. When you end up with the wrong people in a 4x4 cold environment, shit just comes out and spins in the fan.
No, I have not, dude.
I
said, I was always really sweet.
Right, and it
everyone around me was really sweet.
We also had that self of respect to our chefs where we wouldn't do that around them ever, because they'd be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing, you fucking kids? Like, fucking grow up." You know,
because you're fighting amongst each other.
Amongst each other, or just like
definitely can't fly, man.
Bullshit or something like that, where it's like you're really negative at each other. And looking back at it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty fucking childish, and I would probably not do that now. But there's also a sense of growing up, right? You can't always be perfect.
Nah, dude, mistakes happen.
Either way, but yeah. So I threw away an 80-year-old starter. Francis hit up. All his chef friends and who you got it from, Girl on the Go?
Yeah, I got it from a buddy at Girl on the Go.
And it was like a whole wheat starter, right? So for the first day, I was just like, I just kept my head down because that's the only thing you can do in that, in that you
yeah, just kind of like take it a little bit,
Yeah, at the end of the shift when I was walking home, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I washed it down the fucking this and that. And then I went home and I Googled for like 3 hours how to start your own starter. And literally that day I started my own starter. And then within 7 days, I still got Buddy.
You still have it? Nice. That's a good story.
It's a great story because I was like, well, because Francis asked that question, well, no, in all seriousness, you threw it out. That's not like... We're past that now. Where are we going to get a starter right now? Do you actually know somebody that can, lend us a starter? At the end of the day, it's a starter.
It's not going to be ready overnight.
It's not going to be ready overnight.
Sure.
No matter what you want to do, you figured a way to get out of that. And like you said, you didn't let anybody from higher ups even know that. You just took care of the problem. And that's a big thing I learned as being a sous chef is sometimes you see the problem, but all you should be bringing is solutions to the table, because just by saying that there's a problem, it's not going to fix it. You also work
for them, like in a lot of ways, like it seems like you work for me or higher ups or whoever in a way, but it's like, I think the goal of like a leader or management in a way is like to create an environment for everyone to be succeeding in. So in a lot of ways, like I work for you in that way. So it's like, it's just counterintuitive for me to just like put somebody on blast or do some weird shit. Like at least like that's what I've learned from like watching people that I look up to and stuff like that, right? So it's like, chef doesn't have to know about freaking everything, man. Like we're gonna figure this out, and then if we don't, then it'll be on me. But for the most part, I'm just gonna try to make sure that you know that I support you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and understand that mistakes do happen, right?
And that's a great environment to. But
were you hypersensitive to stuff like that after it happened?
No,
I'm saying like you learned your lesson, right? Like you were more aware of like shit you were doing.
Not only that, but it's also like all your mistakes are just experiences, right? Whether they're being good or wrong, but they impact your future self, right?
Sure.
So you make certain decisions. Like I made a decision. Well, if I ever do fuck up like that again, at least I have a solution.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, chef, you know what? I got a starter at home, and I'll bring it in tomorrow, and we'll be fine. I'll feed it, when I get home.
Yeah.
Even though like.
First and foremost, just admit it. Let's move past it.
Yeah, admit it.
That's a big one.
Right. I mean, besides that 0.0001% chance. But yes, I've accepted that I threw away an 80-year-old starter, and now I have a starter, and I might name it Buddy, just because of Francis and all the memories we've had together.
Because we're buddies now?
Yeah, well, you say buddy a lot.
I say bud.
Bud.
Yeah. What's up, bud? How are you, bud?
That's my new starter's
cool.
name, Bud.
Nice.
And I'll try to keep it alive for as long as I am living and breathing and able to feed it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you can give it to your kids. I remember when I was a kid, underneath the sink, my grandma had like a vinegar mother, and it just looked so gross. But
can you make, on a side note, can you take kombucha and make vinegar?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
It looks the same, right?
I don't have the answer to that.
We'll just have to ask David Zilber.
Yeah, I don't even want to steer anybody in the wrong direction as far as that's concerned.
But that's really cool, and that's a completely different podcast. This podcast, we were just trying to, hear Chef Francis's story, before COVID, and what he's doing now. And I'm very happy to call you my friend and
sweet,
and
man.
Follow you and
wow.
Just be in your circle, right? Because
yeah, I'm glad to be a positive influence on you.
And I'm reaching, right?
If that's the case.
We started off, being coworkers, and you were my higher up, and now we know more about each other, and we're more open about each other, and he's helping me, I'm helping him in any way we can, and that only grows on the relationship.
Yeah.
That's
and a sense of community.
It's really cool too. That I appreciate his time. He probably could have spent it prepping for tomorrow's week plans, but he took the 2+ hours to come and spend some time with our viewers and do this thing and be on my journey, on this podcast journey.
It's been a fun one too.
And you have an amazing story, and like I said, I'm very inspired by all your moves, especially just the way just the positivity that you might not see it, but he's got a beautiful white lightning orb around him of positivity that wherever he enters,
I do my best for sure.
You sense that. So yeah, guys, we're gonna start wrapping this up. This was an amazing podcast.
Yes.
Thank you to Chef Francis for coming and sharing his story, his experiences, for laughing with us, getting on some deep subjects, avoiding other subjects.
I do my best, man.
We'll definitely want to see you for season 2 of this podcast.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna be talking about little different things. I'd love to hear all the dirty deets.
Stay tuned on where I'll be in that time, man. That's the fun part, huh?
Love life and
no, we're definitely
workouts.
Not talking about any of that.
And
we're here to talk about food, right?
We're here to talk about chef stuff, right? Food is what brings us together, but I really want to showcase the humanity and humility and dedication that we have.
You're saying that we're like people?
Yeah, we are people.
That's weird, man.
Well,
yeah.
But like
no, it's
a
true.
lot of the
Very
times
true.
we take that for granted too, like, and just the way the way that we treat ourselves.
Yeah.
I think now with COVID that has changed, and it would be very interesting to hear the two sides of the story, right? And in 20 years, they'll be talking about this time, 2020, COVID. What did you do? Your grandkids, my grandkids, you're gonna be sitting around drinking kombucha. Or vinegar, whatever it turns into at that time. They're gonna be like, Grandpa, what's your COVID story? And you'd be like, oh, you know what? You could go on Twitch and check out Late Night with Chefs.
Yeah, that's actually really funny. That's what the future's gonna be like. Here's my Instagram. Like I don't have any.
Yeah, chefs are people, and a lot of times there's so much we put in that you can't describe on a menu item or describe in a paragraph, but we just give that. That's just like something we're it's hospitality, right?
Yeah, it's definitely trying to create a memorable moment for people.
Yeah, so I'm a curious creature, like I've mentioned in previous podcasts. I'll creep. I'm a chef groupie. I follow my chefs on a ritual, just like I get Your Highnessy's weekly ritual meals.
This man really does.
Every week. And
you excited for tomorrow?
At this point, and I'll be the one to state this. I'm the guy that reads the headlines and takes it as is. For the most part, I'm very lazy about reading the entire paragraph. So when you came on this podcast today, I was like, yeah, man, beef stir fry sounds great.
Yeah, he didn't even read the
And
whole
then
thing.
he's like, bro, XO sauce with scallops? Like, what you mean?
Scallops
and I'm like,
shrimps.
oh, okay. Well, this just changed my whole perspective. And
Yeah, it'll be good. It's really tasty stuff.
yeah, guys.
I made it today.
And I'll definitely be sharing my pleasure of eating it and just throwing that out too.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, I love everything you're doing. I think you're very inspiring, and especially to all our viewers who've had a little bit of hesitations. I think you've made great pointers. We're all human. We all have choices. Take it one step at a time.
It's all possible, man.
Yeah, it's all possible.
Have that courage and faith in knowing that you can also do it. It's not like this thing that's reserved for just anybody. Like you can also do it. You can figure it out.
Right, and everybody's gonna take this information and use it as they please. Whether they just it goes in one ear and comes out the other, or they actually implement it. Right. The easiest thing is to throw out a theory. The hardest thing is to follow through. I feel like.
Sure. Also, I mean, I'm also super open to like people like asking me questions like about how about my experience has gone and how they can start their own thing. I just had somebody hit me up today on the same thing, and just gave them any information that I could, like, and if that's you and you end up being in that boat, if there's any way that I can help you, reach out, man.
Please do, guys, and if you guys can reach him on Your Highness D, and we'll post his tags on our stories on Instagram. Is there any other platforms where they can reach you on?
I mean, I think Instagram is really like the biggest one that I use for right now, just because it's so multifaceted in a lot of ways.
It's got great tools, yeah.
So I think
Instagram, guys, Your Highness D. If you guys have any questions about starting your own meals to go, any questions about cooking, food, whatever, motivation, I always ask him, what do you do for your workouts? What do you eat? And he's very open about it. He tells me, most of the time I'm eating brown rice and chicken. If I'm trying to be healthy, that might have changed. But we always talk, and I'm always inspired by this man. He's doing really great things, and it's amazing to have you as our guest chef for this week. Awesome. As we are slowly kicking things up to have such a heavy hitter in the house tonight. Wow. In the flesh.
Wow.
Your Highness D,
I don't think
Chef
anyone's
Francis.
ever said that.
It really, really means a lot to me, and for all the viewers, please go follow him. Kenny Bobby just shared his link on Instagram, so if you guys want to hop up over there, anybody that's watching this after the live recording goes likewise as well. And if you guys ever want to be on this podcast, we'd definitely love to hear your story, your side, because we all have such a different side and such different outputs and creativity on so many different levels, right? Everything's a spectrum, and everybody finds their place and their happy place, and we're just here to inspire, motivate, learn, share our experiences, and hopefully some things that were said in this podcast you can take and implement in your life to change it for the good, and I hope just for the good, and not the bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, it's an amazing thing we're trying to do. So please, guys, follow us on all the platforms. Keep tuning in live. We're gonna have Kevin Stacks, who is the CDC at Purple Pig, tomorrow. Another Chicago heavy hitter. We're just gonna keep spreading these amazing stories, sharing these amazing people and their amazing businesses, concepts, ideas, and all that. And I think this is a great channel to do that. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna go try to make 10 p.m. Truffle pizza. I'll be on Instagram live. We'll see if it happens or not. Things are kind of tightening down here, but we gotta let Chef Francis go. He's a busy man, and again, Chef Francis, I appreciate your time.
Francis is fine,
Francis is fine. I didn't put I do have you on the broadcast as Francis, but
Perfect,
to
man.
me, you're always gonna be Chef Francis.
That's sweet. That's sweet.
Your Highness, fit for a king,
Oh boy.
fit for a queen. Yours truly, Your Highness.
Thank you
Guys,
so
you guys
much.
have to get his meals. You'll be hooked for life. They're truly amazing.
Much appreciated.
Yeah,
Thank you
guys.
so much for having me, man.
Thank
this
you.
has been a pleasure.
No, really awesome conversation.
Thank you.
We went like an hour and 10 minutes over what we usually expect, but this is how it goes, right?
Right.
We just start sharing and we're going off of it, and it's a great vibe, and that's also what we're trying to do.
Nice.
So yeah, really cool things, and we'll keep you guys updated, and we'll do a bunch of snippets. But we are out. Thank you guys.
Sick. That was fun.